Learned to know Mickey Hess from West Virginia a few months ago, and he really shows an interest in wanting to attract more youth into the party. And it's, like I said, it's something that's very necessary, very needed. So I asked him if he would make a presentation to us with a plan on how to bring more young people in, because again, some of us old guys are not going to be around too much longer. We have to be building our farm team, building from the youth up. So Mickey, if you would come forward. He's a secretary for the Constitution Party in West Virginia, and college student. Yep. Yeah. So just what we need. So tell us how we can do it.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, so again, my name's Michael Hess. I go by Mickey, and I'm from West Virginia. And before I go into how we can work together as a national party to recruit more people into the party, I want to talk about what we've done in West Virginia over the past couple weeks in order to recruit more people in West Virginia. So a couple of weeks ago, myself and a few other young men from West Virginia that are registered to vote Constitution Party formed a caucus called the Youth Caucus of the Constitution Party of West Virginia. And we filed it with the Secretary of State's office, so we're all good there, and we'll continue to make financial reports and get a depository account. But I want to go into what is the Youth Caucus. And the Youth Caucus is open to Constitution Party members between the ages of 18 to 35 within the state of West Virginia. Our mission, hopefully, is to promote the restructuring of the Constitution Party of West Virginia and its policies and its platform in order to better promote outreach and membership of younger voters within West Virginia. In order to do that, long-term, we're focusing on three main goals. The first goal is deliberate youth outreach. You're not going to get youth unless you purposely go out there and use the tools that they use to reach out to them. They're not going to be on a Yahoo group. They're not going to be in some forum. They're going to be on Instagram. They're going to be on Twitter, on Facebook. They're going to be at local events. And, that's where you have to go. You have to go out to local events. You have to staff them. And you have to, find issues that are going to matter to them and market those to them. And that kind of goes into my second issue, is recognizing young voters. The Constitution Party of West Virginia, and I'm sure many other parties do, need to recognize what issues matter to people. I've been talking to various people throughout. There are things we can offer to youth that have perhaps more leaning Democratic, or if they lean more Republican. There are many things we can offer. And it's time we just formulate those, properly market them, and put it out there. It's not that hard. It's graphic design. It's Facebook, using what's out there already. And the last thing, which we really hope to do, is incentivizing youth membership. Part of the thing is when you first go to register to vote, you have Republican, you have Democrat. Most likely you're going to sign up with whatever your parents are. In my belief, if you want to go third party and you just registered to vote and you are 18 years old, I don't think you should have to pay dues in the Constitution Party of West Virginia. And my reasoning behind that, at least for the first year, I think the dues should be waived for the first year if you are an 18-year-old voter that just registered and want to join the Constitution Party. And why? Because if they go join the Republican Party, they don't get charged dues, and they'll gratefully welcome them into the organization. Same thing with the Democrats. Same thing with the Libertarians. Same thing with the Greens. So we have to get past that. And next I want to go into what our SMART objectives are. And for those of you that don't know what SMART means, it means it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's timely. So each month, our goal is to increase by 3 members between the ages of 18 and 35. Now that's not huge and ambitious, but it's low and it's something we can meet. The next thing is we want to establish a Facebook and Twitter page and establish, at least a sizable amount of likes and followers in order to disseminate information and figure out what issues matter most to them. Our third SMART objective is to establish a bank account and, as such, establish fundraising goals and fundraising strategies, which we're working informally to figure out now. And then this is the last thing, which I wish I could have more of it, but it's not really developed for presentation yet, but is something we call the Constitution Party Youth Caucus Resource Center. This will be an online center for candidates, for volunteers, and for local affiliates to go to. If you're a candidate, you can go to that page and you'll be able to find publications that will help you file for office, that will help you run a write-in campaign, that will teach you how to debate and how to participate in forums and distinguish yourself from Republican and Democratic candidates. In terms of resources we'll offer to affiliates, we'll offer how you can have uniform branding. You know, if you look at the website, it's all uniform, it's all branded to current insignia. I think for the most part, a lot of state affiliates should have the same thing. But one of the issues is people don't know how to do that. Well, we don't know how to design our own logo. So we've found a free resource, and hopefully we can establish some training videos for you to watch that you guys can log on, use, and you'll be able to use graphic designs and other things on your own Facebook page. And you can brand it however you want. And it can look like this, it can have the same colors. It's going to be a great resource, and we hope to launch it by January. And when I do, hopefully I'll reach out to Jim or Frank, and hopefully that can be sent out in a nationwide email for you guys to check that out. But it will be an excellent resource for you guys to use. Now, if you want to look at something similar at it in the meantime, the Libertarian Party has something, and this is where I got the inspiration for it. This is something that really helped their state affiliates get hardened, was their lpaction.org. And if you could, either go on your phones right now or write it down, lpaction.org. The amount of resources that they provide to their candidates for free is astronomical. And it's helped them, truthfully, get to where they are today. And you know, I don't want to say, well, we need to do everything the Libertarian Party does. But I think if we can use the tools and resources that it has allowed them to be successful thus far, if we can use that, I think we have such a good advantage at becoming one of the strongest third parties in the United States. So now I want to move on to, okay, how can we bring this back to our states? Well, I would say, well, here's a guide, have fun with it. But I think most of us can recognize that state chairmen are overrun. They have to find candidates. They have to manage fundraising. They have to manage their state executive committees. And on top of their private life, their family, they have a lot to manage. And I think if we were to put that directly on the states and say, all right, there you go, nothing will happen. You don't have a youth recruitment strategy, and nothing will get done. So what I propose is something, which I call it affiliate support committee, whatever you want to call it. But I recommend to you as a national committee to establish an affiliate support committee to at first work with the states to figure out, okay, how can we best create a youth strategy tailored to your state? Because what works in West Virginia, I'm sure isn't going to work in Minnesota or California or wherever your state is. You need to adapt it. So if we can establish an affiliate support committee of 10 people with varying backgrounds, skills, sets, and abilities, that's a good way to work with the states and help them establish their own youth recruitment strategy. But I don't think it should just stop there. As we've talked, we need to unify our party. And one of the ways is helping. It's time we help others. We need to reach across states. What can we do for you? You know, in West Virginia, this has worked, this has worked, this has worked. You know, can it work for your state? So what I propose is once, or if you do create an affiliate support committee, expand their abilities after they start working on the youth recruitment strategy for the states. Because this is where the Libertarian Party and other parties have truthfully, in my opinion, gotten a hand up on us. Because their affiliate support committees, and let me get the list here, are a very service-oriented committee which focuses on an array of political party organization things such as candidate recruitment, graphic design, campaign finance consultation, marketing materials, communication, and information technology. You know, for one thing that I noticed, and Jim brought it up, was the old flyer, or even in our blue packets, I got an old flyer. If I were to go to the Libertarian Party or the Green Party or somewhere else, I could go right on their website right now and print off a fresh, newly made, marketed brochure. Versus here, I have one of Jim's son. You know, and that doesn't look good for our party, right? What first impression does that give, right? Say if Jim was at a fair in Pennsylvania and he had all those flyers out, they'd be thinking, ugh, you know, this doesn't look very good. They don't seem very organized. They don't seem to know what they're doing. How am I going to associate with this party if they can't even make a simple brochure, right? So that's what I think needs to be done in order to get a youth recruitment strategy in each state. An affiliate support committee of 10 people with varying backgrounds of communications, ballot access, graphic design, website development, need to all come together and figure out what can we do individually as a team to support this state, to help them develop a youth recruitment strategy, and so on and so forth. In 2022, how can we help with ballot access? How can we help you fundraise and identify fundraising strategies? Those are important things. And, you know, for the most part, what I've realized when it comes to training and whatnot in the Constitution Party, it's usually at conventions or state meetings or things like that. But we need to find a way to put that online and make it on demand. You know, I was even looking at Charles Kraut proposal, and it was interesting to see that he mentioned the Leadership Institute, because those are webinars and on-demand series that we use locally to, you know, help people identify, okay, you're going to run for office. How are you going to get your first donations? How are you going to talk to your family and things like that? They provide exceptional resources, and we need to make those resources on demand, just as the Republican Party has done for their members, just as Democratic Party has done for their members, and all the other parties have. We need to utilize technology. And I think that is going to be the way we reach out to youth, the way we develop our youth recruitment strategy and attract people into the party so we can continue to be successful. Does anyone have any questions?
Most of us here, probably all of us, are acquainted with the caucus concept, but I've never heard of it being registered on a state basis. Is this something that happens in West Virginia, that you register with the Elections Division of the Secretary of State?
Yeah.
And then a general question to the audience, does anyone know of any other states where this is official part of the Secretary of State's office to register caucus or something of that concept?
From what I understand, that's how Minnesota does it. You have to register your party and you have to follow the rules of the state to caucus.
And Minnesota recognizes caucuses?
Yeah, we're a caucus state.
Yeah, when we filed with the Secretary of State's office, they have a list of things. You could go on as a PAC, a corporate PAC, an unaffiliated PAC. You could go on as a political party executive committee, or you could create a membership organization, which is what we did, which will allow us to collect dues, which allows us, again, to report our finances, as well as provide that money legally to candidates, if we ever wanted to support a Constitution Party candidate.
Are these caucuses listed on the West Virginia Secretary of State website?
It will be. They have a campaign finance reporting system, and you can find it on there. But again, those reports are usually done quarterly. We just filed it a couple weeks ago, so we won't have anything to file until I think it's January or February.
Sounds to me like a good idea.
Yeah, Doctor.
Something we might want to promote in
Ms.
state
Hanson?
law.
Every state has different election laws, as you know.
Yes.
The key, I suspect, with filing with the Secretary of State has to do with whether or not you're raising money and whether or not you're giving money to candidates. Those are two key things that usually require registration with the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line if you're raising money. An individual organization, if they're just a membership organization and they aren't supporting candidates, would probably not have to do that. But if you're raising money and spending funds on candidates, it's almost always required in some way or another.
I believe the Missouri version of what you have is the Young Packet Arms.
Yeah. Any other questions?
First, you said the SMART objectives. Could you clarify specific, measurable, attainable resource training? Is that what you said? Or?
No. So SMART means specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. I'm sure if you guys have ever set goals before, and especially failed on them, you might have realized that maybe your goal wasn't as specific, maybe you didn't have a way to measure it, maybe it wasn't realistic, maybe you didn't get it done in a timely manner. And I think the reason I went with SMART objectives is I didn't want just a broad definition of objective. Well, we're going to do this. No, I want to be able to measure, all right, we're going to recruit 3 members each month. All right, we're going to get this website done by January. Does that make sense? It's basically just to hold ourselves more accountable and understand what we're trying to do better.
Okay. And then the other thing, the lpaction.org is a Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
Do you want that on our website?
No. The reason I wrote that down was so you guys could get an idea of what we will be presenting after the new year. Because that, if you've looked at it, they've got a lot of resources on there for candidates, for volunteers, for affiliates, and a lot of resources for branding. And that's what we could really use here, really.
So you speak of affiliate, and that was one of the conversations that I had with our committee, was how are you structured underneath the Constitution Party, or are you completely separate and then you're under the national? Like, are you
We're separate. And the reason, and that's a good question, really. We decided to not be an official affiliate of the Constitution Party of West Virginia just because we didn't want them to try to get into our business, if that makes sense, or try to dictate what we're trying to do. We wanted some sort of anonymity from them, and because what we're trying to do is fundraise, and after that we're going to be working on getting new marketing materials, as well as buying signs that just say, vote Constitution Party, right? Because how many of you have seen comments on Facebook or Twitter that it says, oh, I never heard of the Constitution Party until now. Yeah. And one thing that helped in West Virginia, and in fact it got the Libertarian Party ballot access, and it transformed their convention from 40 members in 2012 to over 200 members in 2016. Forgot my train of thought there, but
the affiliate?
Yeah.
How are you structured as far as?
We're independent of them, but any resolutions that we support will be presented to the executive committee, those types of things.